showcase his perspective through columns, blogs, and articles such as Huffington Post, Salesforce.com, Tech Story, DT Next, Management Next, Ronseller.com, and more.
Fantastic. So, hello to one and all, everyone around the globe that I see here right now. And, I'm pretty much excited about this conference because this is my. So, something that really excites me is, this digital conference because all my conferences where I've spoken before have been in person. So I'm pretty much excited to see how we can digitally connect across the world. I see people from different parts of the world here, so that's really exciting. So now a quick introduction. I'm part of this company called Find Inc., which is basically based out of Redmond in the US, and we run the company digitally. I work out of Chennai, and I head the marketing for the company, and we have a dev center in Trichy, again in southern part of India. So, what am I going to be talking about today? We've had so many sessions across growth hacking, and especially the session before this, we did hear Alexander speak about content marketing, and he was talking about how fantastic it is to be finding the right audience, and how best we convert each of these people by touching base with them on an emotional manner. So now, first of all, when we think of hacking as a word, it gives us multiple perspectives. It gives us mixed emotions, right? So if you're talking to a cyber security specialist for that matter, they are going to be primarily concerned when they hear this word because the first thought that comes into their mind is going to be DDoS attacks or ransomware or anything and everything that causes issues, problems. Whereas we find solutions to simple problems in our daily lives, and we like to call it as life hacks. So there are two completely different perspectives. So at this point, I thought, let me give you a small story, right? So once there was a mother mosquito and a baby mosquito, and it was the first ever time that the baby mosquito was taking its flight. It was going to fly for the first time, and the mother mosquito warned her, saying, "You know what? It's a tough world out there. People are going to be smashing you. People are going to be hitting you. They are going to be using all sorts of tools like this to kill you. But what's going to happen is you have to be careful and weave your way out of it." And then the baby mosquito went on. It had a very, very eventful day. And as it was coming back home, the mother mosquito asked, "How was your day?" And the perspective of this mosquito, the way she puts it across, she says, "Every time I went close to someone, they were clapping for me." So it did not perceive as killing, but it was actually perceiving it as clapping and appreciating. So it's all about the perspective that we are going to look at in terms of hacking or how we go about it. Personally for me, as a marketer, or anyone and everyone who is hearing this, who's a marketer, is never going to be satisfied with the kind of budget that is given to them, and we're always asked to do more with less. So that's the very basis of growth hacking, right? So if you look at it in the good old days, there were far more fewer businesses, whatever industry it is, absolutely budget oriented jobs, right? So we have to be absolutely cautious of where we are spending our pie. I'll come to that. So in the good old days, we have always been having fewer companies, which means there are far less competition, and then we could reach out to our target audiences in a very very specific methods. Like you could reach out to TV ads, to radio ads, to newspaper ads, print ads, above the line and below the line. But still, winning a customer has always been difficult because you have to have a good product, you have to be resonating with them, you have to make sense to them, and they need to like you. There's a lot of variables in between. But today, what has happened? If you look at it, the market has absolutely changed. Today, if you look at it, every year, we are having about 50 million new startups coming into play, which means there are also at least half a percentage of that closing down every year. So businesses that start in the first year, they don't actually go on to continue to the next year. Why? Right? So the number one factor is, are we sustaining and are we able to grow? And then, if you look at the same numbers, if you break down that 50 million, it's almost about 137,000 businesses that start on a daily basis. So every day we are having 137,000 new companies. So how are we going to sustain, right? So we need to be making sure that to grow, to scale, to expand, we need to be first profitable. So one of the primary things in being profitable is being able to do more with less. So that's where the whole concept of growth hacking comes into existence. We need to be hacking growth every now and then. How do we go about doing it? So the first step is, are we all spending on the right things? And today, if you look at it, there are n number of automation tools available in the industry. We just someone asked Alexander, can we use content automation tools to create content? In fact, yes, there are quite a bit of tools coming up in the industry. There are, in fact, the way artificial intelligence has proliferated the market. You could say that anyone and everyone is nowadays adapting it, and people are creating content out of that. But the effectiveness of it, it depends on the variables that are considered in building that kind of a content using an automated engine. Now, in fact, I'm pretty much interested in talking about that because I would like to touch base on artificial intelligence as one of the primary growth hacking tools and primary growth hacking techniques, and how it's being used in the marketing industry today. In fact, as I told you, I come from a company called Find, and we basically are into artificial intelligence. So what we primarily do is we cater to the B2B sector, and primarily we help marketers and salespeople find their best customer in terms of their intent and fit. So what this means is, on a daily basis, you try to reach out through your Google AdWords, you try to reach out through your Facebook, social mediums, and through various email campaigns and so on. But if you look at it, not everyone responds. If you're sending out about 50,000 emails, hardly there is 1% conversion out of that. And hardly there are going to be about less than 5% or less than 10% of people that are going to be responding positively to your campaign. Right? So why is that happening? If you think at the basis of it, it's all about, are we talking to the right people? And are we talking to them in the right time? And are we at all making sense? Because are we saying the right things? Now, taking cues from Alexander's talk, I'm going to touch upon a little bit of content. I'm also going to be touching upon a little bit of AI and how we are going to use this as an intelligence that feeds marketers and salespeople on a daily basis. So, to start with, the first factor that we'll touch here is the content part, right? So I think I did note down the question somebody asked it, like how do I find the right audience? And somebody asked like how do I make sure, for example, in a medical industry, how do I make sure that I deliver the right kind of content, or which industry it's more difficult, right? So primarily what you can do is you can look at what is the kind of audience. Primarily it's all starts about whom you're going to be talking to. Even before you build a product, every company's founder is always going to be very, very hyper clear on who the target audience is and what the product is going to do. In that essence, what problem is it going to solve? And now you need to ask yourself, is this a problem that needs to be solved on a daily basis? Is this a must-have solution for every company? And what kind of a budget or what kind of a ticket is this going to be, right? So if it's going to be a problem that needs to be addressed on a daily basis, and if your tool needs to be used on a daily basis, then the pricing and the mechanisms work accordingly. And you need to be there in places where these target audience actually hang out. So it comes back to the very basic of who your audience is. Once you understand that part, you know where these people are going to hang out. You will obviously have figured out a persona of these people, which means you know what they like, what they don't like, what kind of content they consume. And if today there's a lot of growth in video content, because not many people are spending time reading. In fact, being an author, I can comfortably say this because I today see a significant amount of drop in readers, especially when it comes to reading on the physical mediums. And I see that more and more people are grabbing ebooks. But at the same time, there are a set of people who prefer to read from the actual physical copy because they like the feel of it. So it's important to categorize my audience into certain segments that I'll be able to identify and push my messaging accordingly. Now, let me touch upon where AI comes into the picture. So this is an experiment that we conducted some time back. In fact, one of our founders was sitting in a restaurant in Seattle, and he noticed something, that there are people coming in and on a daily basis, or the regular visitors, and they did realize, I'm sorry, Monisha. AI tools, yes. For AI tools, for a sample, you can visit find.com. It's find.com. So you can go through the website, and you'll have a good idea of what it is. And even at the end of the session, you can ask me very specific questions, and I'll be, yeah, absolutely, that's right, find.com, and I'll be happy to answer your specific questions as well. Now, getting back to the core aspect, so this founder, this guy, he was sitting in the restaurant, and he was seeing that lot of people came in, and they were specifically choosing certain waiters, and they said, I would like to be served by this guy. And more often than not, it was realized that out of the 10, 12 waiters the restaurant had, it always boiled down to two or three specific people. Now, why is that? It is because these people understand and remember their customers. They know who these people are. They know their preferences. Straight away, the conversation would start with, I know you would like this, this, and this. Would you like to try something new, which is this? And or specifically, you can also start something like, is it the usual that shall I bring it for you? So it's all about understanding this person and serving, so that the conversations becomes easier. And also, as a customer, I feel that okay, I'm being recognized, I'm being valued, and these people know what I prefer. And every time I come in, even if it's crowded, I'm gonna get a preference and all of that, right? So this idea was later thought and said, can this be scaled up? Can I make sure that every waiter or every salesperson in other businesses can have the same edge? So what is that missing edge? It's the information that we have about customers. It's the information that we have about prospects, right? More often than not, we try to reach out to a huge chunk, and we hardly get any response rates. We hardly get any conversions out of that, because more often than not, we are talking to people that are not really interested, or we don't even know, are they looking out for a product, where are they in their buying cycle, right? So and fine, what we understood and what we did was developed certain models using data science, machine learning, and AI, and built a product that could actually pull together your entire prospect base and score them based on their propensity to buy. So what this means is, as today's audience, they leave digital footprints all over the internet, right? So it could be like somebody reviewing a particular product. It could be someone who is sharing some grievances, or it could be some today, for example, even for movies, for example, right? So today, a lot of people put out movie reviews as a Facebook post. So, and there can be n number of things like this. It can be related to someone hiring more people in a company, which could say that okay, there are more and more people coming in this company, they don't have a software. Probably this is the right time for me as a software salesperson to go and pitch this, because This is the right time. They need it. They have a fit, and for me, it's an opportunity to pitch, right? At the same time, now it's not always about fit, right? So, for example, I might have a need, and I might absolutely feel that this is a great fit for me. But do I have a budget for it as a customer, as a prospect? Do I, how actively I'm looking for something? So this is again measured in terms of intent, that is where they are, what they are looking for, are they really buying, or are they just window shopping, and all of that. So this primarily is serving as an immensely supporting growth hack tool for several marketers and sellers, because it helps them build conversations with their prospects and make sure that there is a sense of relevance in that conversation. Right? So, for example, if a sales guy picks up a call, and if he's going to randomly say that, hey, you know what, I sell this, and I think you're a company that is into this, and this. Say if I have to put this into example, let's say I'm a company selling a CRM software, and I reach out to a company that is about 20 people, and hardly there are about 2 or 3 salespeople in that company. And I call up and say that, hey, do you need a CRM system? And the license and the costing is so much, and I think this is a must for you as your organization needs to grow, and it's going to be scaling up now. It might not be a great fit because at this point they are a startup and they might not necessarily be ready to invest in something, right? So, whereas if I'm able to capture the information around that and identify companies that are sales ready, then I can probably establish a meaningful personalization. I'm sorry. Today, personalization would give more lead conversion. Absolutely, Monisha. That makes sense, right? So today, it's not just about personalization. Actually, as you rightly put, it's not just personalization. It's a hyper personalization. And today's personalization is actually happening on a mass scale. About 5 years back, about even 2 years back, we were talking about mass marketing, mass communication. It was emails was one to many, right? But today it's not just that, right? If I am not getting an email that talks very specifically to me, and if I'm getting something that's very generic, I'm going to feel that okay, I'm getting a mass mailer. It's not to me. Probably, this guy is just throwing out a net and seeing if there are any fishes catching the hook. So I might not necessarily be interested. But now, when there is a message, as you rightly put, when there's a message that is very specific to my company's situation, or very specific to my role, or if it's going to be making my job easier on this day, probably it would give me a thought. But again, beyond this, there is a lot of internal conversation, because when you look at it, it's not just about a company. There is always companies are generally referred by salespeople as accounts. So it's not just about having a good account cycle, but also having a good grasp of the buyer journey. These two needs to align. So these two come into play, and that's when the conversations become more relevant. They make more sense, right? I think I'm getting a question. Yeah. Elevator pitch in sales is still valid in digital sales. Well, elevator pitch may not be always useful, but okay, there are two questions here. Monisha, you're asking me elevator pitch in sales is still valid. Well, elevator pitch is broadly to tell people that I'm in the industry and I do A, B, and C. Probably, if you're interested, you get in touch with me, right? So it's a broad. It's like putting things on your website that shows that this company has the following capabilities, but it might not resonate with everyone. It's while it is important, while it's like you having a CV. It's important to say that you have these qualifications and these experiences, but unless in that interview, if you are going to have a relevant fit, if you're going to have a match with the job role and what you bring to the table, that's when the magic happens. So elevator pitch is something that is very basic. It needs to be there, but it needs to be hyper personalized. Now the next question is the marketing automation the rebranded name of email automation? Absolutely no. See, marketing automation comprises a lot of things. So it could be your content distribution, it could be content placement, It could be even understanding and getting insights of who your customer is and what kind of content needs to be delivered to them. For example, let's take a CRM, right? In a typical CRM tool, you have a lot of salespeople using it, and more often than not, a real-time scenario is that salespeople don't like to update CRMs. That's the fact, right? So because they are busy talking to customers, they are busy building their case, and this is the mundane activity which people don't actually go about updating because it takes a lot of time. But at the same time, this information is important for marketers who get into nurturing each of these accounts when these are not moving forward in sales, right? So but actually what happens is these kind of automation tools, when they integrate with the existing tools, these bring in the kind of insight that will bridge the gap. So today's marketing automation comprises of marketing intelligence, it comprises of your CRM automations, it comprises even your emails, and today's inbound marketing is purely about the kind of content that is generated, right? So the simple answer to your question is that email automation is just one minor part. Perfect. All right. So what I'm going to do is like I'll touch upon the last part of personalization along with the need to segment. What about programmatic ads? Right. So programmatic ads is again based on the segmentation part, which I'm just going to talk about. So segmentation is one area where you don't push out a message as commonly to everyone. So I try to bucket my prospect types, right? What today's machine learning does is, for example, if you go to Amazon, it is going to throw up certain information like people who bought this also bought this. It's going to, and what it does is this is something based on the data available based on your buying behavior in the past, and it's predicting. It runs through a data model and says that okay, now that this person has shown interest in say a laptop, he or she might be interested in buying a mouse, or he or she might be interested in buying an internet connection, or something like that, right? So to even give programmatic ads or specific ads, you need to have appropriate information about the customer, for which segmentation is the basis. Now, in the segmentation, again going back, what do you segment it based on? Do I segment it purely based on my assumption that okay, my target audience is marketers, my target audience is salespeople, and do I just stop at that? Or if I'm very specifically say selling laptops, do I look at commercial companies? Do I look at NGOs and do I look at governments and give a special rate? How do I segment them? Now, this is where artificial intelligence gives you something called signals, and what these signals are is they try and capture certain behavior across the internet, and even from your internal data within your CRM, within your marketing automation tools, and try to put this together and add it as an intelligence and saying that because of A, B, and C, this person might have a high propensity to buy, or because of these signals, this person might find your product a great fit, but he or she is not going to buy it in this quarter. They might take at least another 6 months to get into the cycle. So what do? You put them into a nurture cycle. You put them into a cycle where you send programmatic ads, periodic ads, and say that okay, how do I track this guy's movement? Now I know his social profile, I know where it goes, and they use something called a retargeting within the website. So once you have shown interest in a particular product, wherever you go on the internet, you're going to be followed over a period of time, and you'll be shown ads very relevant to you, and that's how these kind of conversations happen. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'll stop here, and I'll take more specific questions because this outline I'm sure is going to put in a lot of questions in your mind. And if we start interacting that way, I think this conversation will be even more meaningful. AI in business analytics. Right. So I didn't get that question. Are you asking if AI is uh, Can you be more specific with that question, please? All right. So AI in business analytics. See, AI is pretty much possible in across the B2B sector. It's about how you're going to put things into use. For example, the programmatic ads that you asked about, or even the segmentation that I was talking about, even analytics for that matter. See, somewhere or the other, all the analytics use AI in some way or the other. Even your Siri, even your Cortana, they all use AI in some way or the other. It depends on what level of sophistication and what scale of data that we are dealing with. And more importantly, the ability to analyze your business and get a very precise recommendation step as what to do will depend on the quality of data. In fact, a few years back, when you looked at it, analytics was always based on past, and even until a couple of years back we were always talking about predictive analytics. So when you say predictive analytics, I analyze the past behavior of a particular user or a customer or a prospect, and I'm going to recommend or I'm going to predict a trend that he or she might be in this way, and then your marketing and your sales pitches can be tuned accordingly. But now we have come to a space in artificial intelligence where we are thinking about situational awareness, where we say that what is the thought process right now? How do I connect? So answering your question, it's all about the quality of data that you have collected so far, and how how relevant and um, how do I put it? How clean is this data? Because for example, if you have a list of customers that you're emailing to, and this list you connected about 2 years back, and the person might as well have moved to a different company, to a different job role, or even a different location. In fact, there's a stat that says about there are about 30% of data decay within your CRM, within your company's data that you've already collected. So if this data is going to flow across your marketing ecosystem, then obviously your targeting is going to go to the wrong person. The analytics is going to become wrong. So what you analyze is going to be absolutely dependent on the kind of data that you have. Well, seasonal ads, you already know that it is seasonal, and in fact, you would have already stocked up a lot of things. For example, can it happen in real time? It can happen in near real time. Absolute real time is not possible because, say, for example, how companies look at it, how e-commerce companies look at it. Say, for example, now it's Christmas, right? So obviously, people are gonna look at selling Christmas trees and cakes. There are lot more things around that. So it's always going to be around that set of prediction that in this season these set of things will sell more. But what gets trickier is analyzing how the sale of a particular product will be in a particular region. Now, how do I go about and predict that? And for example, if you're releasing a completely new product, how do you go about it? You look at the best near product to it that for which this can be an upsell, and then you tag it along with it and see where it sells the best, and then there it goes on. So it is possible, but not in absolute real time, but near real time. Amazon Freedom Sale. See, Amazon Freedom Sale is more of a even Flipkart's Big Billion Days. These are more of your bundling and pushing. It's more of a regular e-commerce thing that everybody does these days. It's all about giving offers. Uh, for a long time, it was the likes of Groupon that gave you coupons and offers, and you went on to Amazon and buy it. But these days, the companies are thinking, do I do it myself? And do I cut the people? Do I ensure that there are not middlemen? Do I eliminate this and come in and say, if I can do this all by myself, I could do it, 2 3 times a year. That's about how freedom sale goes. But again, it's going to be also depending on what products do I put on sale. I need to look at what are the most frequently sold items, and then how do I personalize it as a message for every user. So now when I log into Amazon, is it going to give me products that is relevant to me? and if it's going to be giving me offers very much relevant to that, that's when it's going to really work. Well, AI in product pricing. Well, AI in product pricing is also happening. In fact, it's happening quite a bit. But see, this is something that cannot be 100% perfect to start with. Uh, it is mostly based on the times, and at this time, some say for example, even if you look at your Ubers and Olas and how they place the surcharges, right? So you never know when it's going to be 2x, when it's going to be 3x, or when it's going to be at the base price. So it starts with about 75 or 50% accuracy, I would say. But then this requires continuous monitoring. You cannot absolutely trust the machine and let everything do it. It has to be augmented in a certain way based on how people are reacting to it. So as such, AI cannot be completely relied upon in everything. There needs to be a combination of human inputs as well as observations and the combination of models that we build in AI. Well, see, it's more of a bucketing. It's not about looking at data right away in real time and giving it. Sometimes it's about putting people into certain buckets based on your knowledge of the prospect. Say, for example, if a bank is going to call you to give you loans, it's going to be based on certain existing data about you. How clearly you have paid your loans. What is your credit score? The credit scores are easily available for them to access. So certain basic criteria would already be found, and then probably they would be looking at what kind of a job profile is this person in, and will he be able to pay it back, and what is his age, so that you can also understand his job tenure and all of that. So similarly, even e-commerce is going to have a fair idea of who my target audience is, at the basic level. But then to do hyper customization, it's going to be based on what information you provide, and what you have done in the past, and what transactional data of you does the e-commerce company have. Does it make sense? Contact info. Sure. I'm very easily connectable on LinkedIn. You can search my name, Yaagneshwaran Ganesh. It's Yaagneshwaran, and the second name is Ganesh, Ganesh. My first name, Yaagneshwaran at Gmail, is my email. I'll just type it here so that people.
Thank you very much.